We live in exciting times. This is it. This is a vinyl copy of They Might Be Giants' 2004 album, The Spine. First time ever on vinyl record. I'm super excited. I'm going to open this real quick and then I'm going to stop the recording and go listen to it for a while. Come back on some other day and finish it, talk about the record and the album itself, and just see what's in here. But for now, let's go ahead and open it. Oh. In 1994, when John Henry came out, I had the first 4 albums on vinyl. I spent months trying to figure out, because it was kind of pre-internet, for me anyway, I spent months trying to figure out if John Henry was on vinyl. I thought it must be somewhere. And I would look in Goldmine magazine and all over every ad I could find, and I couldn't find it, and it turns out it was not released on vinyl. It is now on vinyl. But I'm super excited when these things get out on vinyl that I've never had before. There it is. Look at it. Look at it. Look at it. Oh my God. They Might Be Giants. And there it is. Is it not beautiful? Remastered 180-gram audiophile pressing, finally on vinyl. With bonus track, Renew My Subscription. Download card included. There's the back cover. And I guess I'll go ahead and haphazardly open the actual record here. Take the shrink off. Did I just slice into the cover? No, it's fine. Okay, here's the hype sticker. I'll keep it because one does. There we go. First time ever to open the Spine gatefold vinyl. So the actual record, let's see what's inside here. Red on one side, yellow on the other. That was all the lyrics and all the credits and everything. Here is the record. I am not one who cares about how many grams my vinyl is, but yes, it is quite thick. 180 grams. And so here, put that in your room, hang it up, and check them off as you get them. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking now. I'm going to spend a little while absorbing this album again, reacquainting myself with it, and I'll come back and we'll talk about everything about the album and everything about this copy of the vinyl. It's such good times we live in. All right, well, let's take a look at this album, The Spine, a little more. And first of all, my history with this album and why I wasn't as familiar with it as I should have been. I was a huge TMBG fan since Lincoln and throughout much of the 90s. I knew all the words. Well, maybe I was rusty on Dinner Bell, but I saw them live twice. I had the EPs and the singles, like the green vinyl Christmas cards one. But over the years, I drifted apart from They Might Be Giants. I still loved them, but I didn't listen to them as much. I kind of heard they'd done a kids album after Mink Car, but I never heard it. And then in 2004, when The Spine was new, I went out and bought the CD, and I listened to it very occasionally. About 3 years after that, I got rid of most of my stuff, including that CD, and so I only vaguely remembered the songs. And that was the final They Might Be Giants album I had when it was new, until Book. I had by then reconnected with the band and started exploring all I'd missed, and ended up with this Spine record. So when first listening to this, it was like hearing oddly familiar old ghosts. Not as much an instant part of my DNA like Flood or John Henry, but half known and half not as well known. I also understand that this is seen as a kind of wilderness era for the band among some fans, so The Spine is one of They Might Be Giants' most mysterious albums, in a way, at least for me. So, listening to this album now without all that context, just as music, has been great fun. And I like fun. I found that The Spine quickly grows on you, but it indeed has a musical approach and a lyrical vibe all its own. Generally, the lyrics don't seem quite as negative as they do on many other albums. There are still very dark corners, of course, but things are, in general, a slight bit gentler, on average. Maybe it's because the band had just been in the world of children's music, or because they'd been having more notoriety and success with their TV soundtrack work and stuff. Now, having gotten to know The Spine all over again, I wouldn't raise an eyebrow if a fan said that this was their favorite TMBG album. Not necessarily mine, but the songs are superbly written and there is enough production experimentation and inspired avenues explored that some of their best music is in these humble grooves. So let's go through The Spine track by track and see why this album veers so wildly in so many different directions, and why, in retrospect, you can see that it pointed a new way forward for the band. First, it can hardly be a They Might Be Giants album without a lively, perfect John Linnell-written pop rock song to open it. Here, it's Experimental Film. Has any band ever had greater strong album openers than They Might Be Giants? Everything Right Is Wrong Again, Anna Ang, Birdhouse in Your Soul, I'm on Fire, I'm Impressed, Bangs, Erase, Communists Have the Music, all perfect album openers. Anyway, Experimental Film has everything you want from a TMBG track 1. Linnell's peculiar voice tone, kind of shout singing in a sort of euphoria. Memorable melody over John Flansburgh's big, loud rock guitar chords and a simple, brutal 4/4 beat. And the chords are, as is so often the case with a Linnell song, a lot more complex and unconventional than you might notice when just listening. He'll use a sequence of like 20 chords where the melody could get by with just 2 or 3, and it's all the more interesting for it. I don't analyze lyrics personally too much because I'm always wrong, but it's pretty clear here that these are about someone, maybe a film student, making what they imagine to be a genius avant-garde film. They're full of ideas and concepts, but there's clearly no unifying message, nor is there even any meaning to the individual scenes that the person's dreamed up. Like the ending is going to be a face imploding. They just don't know yet why that happens in the movie, but think of the image. Maybe this is all a dig at David Lynch. A repeated idea in the song is the color of infinity inside an empty glass. So basically, this would-be filmmaker is a ball of enthusiasm but confusion. Sounds nice, but how exactly would you commit to film an idea like the color of infinity? It's tempting to see this on some level as a reference to They Might Be Giants lyrics, maybe with some fan ideas mixed in, but that might be too simplistic. I think it's just John Linnell lightly poking fun at the whole concept of having an intense creative urge but nothing really to say. Maybe he's venting his own fears about his songs. More on that later. I mean, it keeps returning to the intentionally awkward line, I already know how great it's, just because it fits with the rhyme and meter. All form and no substance, but that might be too simplistic. The CD booklet for the spine had lyrics, as does the inner sleeve of the vinyl record. If you want to get pedantic about the details, there's a slight difference for the ones for Experimental Film. In the CD booklet, there's the line, I don't know what makes your face implode. He actually only sings the word what 1 time, and it's corrected on the vinyl lyric sheet. Next, the spine has a title song, or a theme song, sort of. The song, Spine, is 30 seconds long, more like something from Fingertips than a full song. It's a little interlude, like a true intro for the album after waking you up with Experimental Film. It's short but gorgeous, with a sunny melody and lyrics all about things you might do if you had no spine, like dragging your legs across your back or having your head bob up and down on your neck. There's probably more to the lyrics than just pondering how your body would crumple without a spine. One line is about walking your fingers through your mind, which makes me think of the TV ads for the telephone book in the 1980s. Let your fingers do the walking. In Spine, it's more like going over your own thoughts. In an interview, Flansburgh mentioned that this album's title, for him, was about having a spine in the colloquial sense, like having confidence and self-respect. Perhaps Spine is a quick look at that. More pedantic differences in the CD and vinyl lyric sheets, by the way. Both jumble up the G's and or the apostrophes for the present continuous verbs. Not having a backbone carries into the next song, Memo to Human Resources. This is a Flansburgh song, and it seems pretty dark thematically. It's a gentle and sensitive song from the point of view of someone who is at a very low point in their life, and they know it and they acknowledge it. And they keep obsessing over the details of the things that have gone wrong in their life and what has brought them to this point. And they keep lying to themselves that they've come to terms with it all. There are references to someone digging through their bathroom shelves and people coming to talk them down. It sounds like maybe there was some dire situation, like a suicide attempt or some commotion, and authorities were summoned. Maybe that's who's referred to sardonically as human resources. They Might Be Giants have an endless supply of lyrics with double meanings and sad irony. In this song, it's how the people needn't talk the protagonist down. The person is already feeling down. Musically, this song's a blueprint for several Flansburgh songs in later years. I've grown to think of John Flansburgh as the heart and soul of They Might Be Giants, especially about since The Spine or so. He often writes these deeply sympathetic sort of ballads, written in a way that nearly strains his voice during the higher notes, which just makes them more charming and emotional. Whether it's someone who's down and hasn't started rising back up yet, as in Memo to Human Resources, or whether it's the fate of Nikolai Tesla, or the frightened soul drowning in confusion into a forest, Flans is all heart. The CD booklet has some incorrect lyrics. I hung around too long instead of the actual line, I stuck around too long, and walk you through the finer points instead of talk you through. Both are fixed on the vinyl lyric sheet. But there's a typo there on that I can still suspend. Like the song's protagonist, this song's lyrics as printed just can't seem to get things quite right. Wearing a Raincoat is one of the songs I remembered fairly well despite not hearing this album hardly at all for many years, because John Linnell exaggerates his already formidable nasal whiny style voice to comical proportions. Wearing a raincoat! This is in fact the longest song on the Spine, about 3 minutes and 10 seconds. It kind of plods along, mostly with a pretty conventional pop rock sound. Strummed guitars ringing out the chords, drums and bass setting a basic bass, you know what I mean. Until the middle section anyway. The lyrics are a set of carefully considered but totally unexpected metaphors from someone who appears to be justifying or even overthinking some kind of fear of people or aversion to being sociable. So wearing a raincoat is like flying around in a plane made of a raincoat. Or needing a friend to talk you down is food that comes from a pipe. So the second song in a row that mentions someone needing to be talked down. I really have no idea what this song is about, but its lyrics openly invite ridicule, and John Linnell is of course in on the joke. Consider the lines, "Turning to drugs to help you sleep will only lead to sleep, and sleeping is the gateway drug to being awake." Tautological madness. By the end of the song he's playing the drums, not taking drugs, to help him sleep. The way this song develops in a slow but steady manner heightens the cryptic, over-analytical declarations from the narrator. All of this is wrapped in that conventional sound, but there's a cool section in the middle where John Linnell's voice is treated heavily with auto-tune or something on the repetitive lines about people demanding too much attention. By the way, both the CD and the LP lyric sheets have the same extraneous lyrics printed on them. The lines, "and once they have that attention, they use it to ask for attention," are actually sung twice, but are written 3 times. As if this song weren't dizzyingly twisted enough already. Prevenge is a clanging guitar song from John Flansburgh, and in a way one of the songs I also remembered from the 2004 days because the concept of the title is so cool. Prevenge. Get even with someone before they get a chance to do something bad in the first place. Or, maybe more to the point in the song, he's planning prevenge, maybe deciding now what to do when an unexpected bad thing happens later. Anyway, I don't know, but this song is a triumph for They Might Be Giants band, and for their producer Patrick Dillett. Prevenge is a very nice song, but could easily sink into indistinguishability. What saves it from being pleasant album filler is the great drumming of Marty Beller. He gives the song shape and its musical drama. His cool drum fills are the main reason you focus on the lines about the girls are just making it up, and the boys are just pressing their luck. Also on these lines, there's a guitar that sounds like it's plugged into a wah-wah pedal that's just stuck all the way to the open position, like Mick Ronson did on the Ziggy Stardust album by David Bowie. I don't know if it was Patrick Dillett specifically who came up with that idea, but it really takes the song from good to great. And I don't mean to just brush Flansburgh aside. He wrote the lyrics, and the lyrics seem to have something to do with the mild chaos behind the scenes when a rock band is playing live somewhere. Maybe? But they're fascinating, catchy, and a perfect match for the production choices and the way the full band plays. The lyrics in the CD booklet say, "With apologies to Mr. Walker," before Flansburgh's hammy, treated vocals about Mr. Pupkin at the Love-In. The vinyl lyric sheet doesn't mention Mr. Walker, but it does have the lyrics as normal. The Great Thunderbird is next, a TMBG classic beloved by all fans everywhere, I assume. Thunderbird was being played live a few years before The Spine and had become a crowd favorite, which is not surprising. It's fun and fast and easy to sing along to. And it has the propulsive power of Linnell's trademark cheesy organ to enliven the performance. The lyrics may quite possibly be about an alcoholic who loves Thunderbird, an infamously cheap brand of supermarket wine. It would explain the declarations of, "My throat is dry, yours too? Well, how about it then?" And yeah, I know I said I'd quit, just one more. Specifically, the person in the song seems to keep forgetting how bad things get when he drinks, so he does it again, wakes up with a thundering hangover and says, "Oh yeah." So it's a bad situation, but there's not even a hint of sadness in how it's performed and sung. An especially good example of a clever lyric twisting comes partway through the song. It refers to the famous Beach Boys song, "Fun, Fun, Fun," in which a girl takes her dad's car keys and drives his Thunderbird around. She has fun, fun, fun until her daddy takes the T-Bird away. But in this song, the singer and his girl will have fun, fun, fun until T-Bird takes her dad away. Maybe the singer is her dad. Maybe he's her boyfriend and he's referring to himself in a sort of hipster language like, "Who's your daddy?" Or maybe the whole song is from the point of view of some girl's dad, and this one little section is from the point of view of her boyfriend singing about the dad who's the normal narrator. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, it's a genius twist on the Beach Boys lyrics with disastrous consequences. Both the CD and vinyl lyrics again have the same mistake. They both say, before you crawl, you have to learn to fall, which in the song is actually the other way around. Before you fall, you have to learn to crawl. Thunderbird infamously was the basis for the track On Earth My Nina from the Great Long Tall Weekend. Linnell listened to a recording of Thunderbird backwards and wrote down what it sounded like his backwards voice was saying, and then he recorded himself singing those nonsensical words a cappella. If you'll indulge me, I want to try to create my own version of On Earth My Nina now. There's nothing like without. There's nothing like without wine. Nerve made me right, wine. Nerve made me right. They might be me. I didn't feel motivated to buy TMBG's Kids album No when it came out in 2002. And although I still want to hear it, I haven't bothered yet to this day. So I will, but the idea always kind of made me shrug. It could be that the spine was partially used to help John and John reestablish themselves as adult musicians, because not only are there references to drugs and drinking scattered around the album, but 2 songs have the words bastard and damn right in the titles. Which brings us to Bastard Wants to Hit Me. This is the song that finally brings together the disparate elements of low, dark piano notes, magically swirling keyboards, electronically garbled auto-tune singing, and squawking saxophone. The lyrics are all about watching someone, the titular crazy bastard, waving at the protagonist, who believes the guy wants to beat him up, and he just wishes he could get to his car and escape the situation. And that's pretty much it. There isn't really much to the story in the song, so I think this is really about the production. And about the auto-tune, really. It's applied to the entire song, so all of Linnell's vocals sound robotic. Of course, auto-tune can be used to tweak a word or syllable if a singer sang it a little flat or sharp, but if you mess with the settings, it just distorts the audio like you hear here. It's deliberately misusing the software for an effect, and was already infamous in pop music when TMBG did this song. So it's an impersonal vocal effect, but Bastard Wants to Hit Me is still a very tuneful song, and it's just over 2 minutes long. I mean, the saxophone solo is like 5 notes. It's really short, nothing wasted on this. Just a little misshapen, psychedelic piece of fun. I tend to think of Flansburgh songs as being more malleable than Linnell's. Linnell's are generally tuneful and poppy and lend themselves to more conventional productions, auto-tune and saxophone experimentalism aside. And so it is on the next song, Flansburgh's The World Before Later On. It's a sparse, haunting piece with music very reminiscent of The Residents, with its simplistic synthesizer melody and distant echoed percussion. To me it sounds like Melancholy Lassie from The Residents' great album Fingerprints. Lots of empty space. Over all that, Flansburgh sings plaintively that the present hasn't become the futuristic space-age type society predicted in decades past. It contains just 2 verses, the first in first-person singular and the second in first-person plural. Some of the things Flansburgh laments the absence of include hovercrafts, jetpacks, telrays, and space faces. I don't know what he means by telray. I did find a piece of hardware called telray that adds echo to audio, like for guitarists, but it's from the 60s, so you wouldn't complain that it doesn't exist now, unless you want to lament cool technology, which did exist, but which fell by the wayside to the detriment of what was then the future, but is now the present. I don't know, I'm overthinking things. I don't know what Space Face is either, but I love this brief song for its ethereal moodiness and its off-putting lonesome vibe. The CD version of the lyric sheet says, "Where's all the complication?" where Flansburgh actually sings complications. The vinyl version fixes that, but both say where's instead of where are, for what it's worth. And that's where side A of the record ends, so flip it over. The first song on side 2 of the spine is Museum of Idiots. I think Linnell heard what I said about him and Flansburgh because this is a Linnell song but has a totally unique and unexpected structure. Linnell sings these kind of lazy, resigned, distracted vocals, 2 short lines at a time, and then a big brass section comes in and punctuates them, sounding very show-busy. And the song keeps ping-ponging back and forth between those 2 extremes. It seems like he's singing about something, a building or a town or a world or a relationship, that is going to collapse, and all one can do after that is just stand in the rubble and pity the tragic flaw of whomever caused it to happen. The ruins are now museum pieces, a marker for the idiots that caused it all. Something like that. I like this song because despite the sorrowful and hateful lyrics, it has humor. I don't know why I think that really, but there's just something kind of laid back and sarcastic about it somehow. I don't know, maybe it's just the lively horns. Museum of Idiots is not as easy to sing along with as other TMBG songs, especially Linnell's, because half of it is given over to the persistent arrival of those bleeding horns. It's Kickin' In is next, a typically awesome 60s garage rock style song from Flansburgh, complete with Linnell's cheesy organ and some heavy rock guitar chords. Pure fun. I must say I don't know exactly what is starting to kick in here. Seems to be some sort of friends roaming around misbehaving. So maybe it's drugs. Maybe it's general youthful abandon. I really like the lines, "It's hard to justify a party band to someone with no party plans." Like, just because you want to go wild doesn't mean people around you want to know about it or hear it. Especially the poor waitress in the song, with this table of people who can't stop laughing. This song's only 2 minutes long because that's all the time it takes to make its point and rock your socks off. I love stuff like this, and I'm so glad that Flansburgh occasionally returns to this type of groovy song. An interesting difference in the lyrics of the two lyric sheets may provide some insights into part of the words. The line, "In a fight over shadows of the night," appears with no punctuation in the CD booklet, but now the LP has "shadows of the night" in quotes. With subsequent lines about being an old and boring story, it may well be referring to the 1928 silent film by that name. It's like the person in the song is awoken by roommates or someone arguing about this movie. Strange way to wake up indeed. It's Kickin' In is my kind of song, whatever it's about. The album has a sort of second theme song next. The first was Spine on side 1, and this one on side 2 is Spines. This song drives me nuts. It's also 30 seconds long like the first, but Spines is a cool disco song with a spooky harpsichord-like intro and falsetto singing from Flansburgh. It's super funky and awesome. And in the best fingertips tradition, it's heartbreaking that this one isn't longer, like a full song. It has fantastic potential. The music is super fun and it sounds like it's going somewhere. Something mature and erudite pops its head up and is immediately taken away. There isn't much time for lyrics, but the few there are about how spines are going to make you crawl and beg and cry and scream and fall in love all over again. Sure. The CD booklet, but not the LP, has an especially gruesome image to go along with spines. A deer carcass hung in a tree torn in half, with the spine dangling down from the hindquarters. On the ground, a pile of guts and the deer's head. Once again, this is not a kids' album. Not much to say about Spines, except it's funny how sometimes They Might Be Giants' best work is crammed into a song that comes and goes in mere seconds. Another classic, as far as I'm concerned, is next. It's Au Contraire. I've always remembered this song. It's probably that opening line in Linnell's distinctive voice, "David Bowie came to town." As a big Bowie fan myself, that stuck out to me. Yes, this is a Linnell song, super memorable melody over what sound like super bizarre chords, in this case, hip, jazzy ones. The song features 3 verses, each with celebrities or other notable people, being disagreed with by some unexplained they. First it's David Bowie, but they don't dig Dave's chops like he was hoping. Then it's Franklin Roosevelt. They disagree that his hat and tie clash, so FDR has good dress sense after all, and he really comes out on top in this song, because in the 3rd verse, Jodie Foster, the composer Bach, and Mahatma Gandhi are playing cards, and Gandhi seems to be winning this hand. But their minds aren't blown by his full house, so they take pains to explain how they disagree with his declaration that his poker prowess would impress them. I have nothing to add to that. Let the humorous and mystifying lyrics be what they are. But what I like about this song is the music, especially the flute towards the end. They Might Be Giants do not often make use of a flute. I think that for their style of music, it's hard to have a flute sound sincere and not mawkish or sarcastic. But man, it works here. It adds a brief but smooth layer over the jaunty music. And it's another connection to 60s music for me, which is a large part of what I hear in TMBG. The flute sounds like it came in from a Donovan song circa 1967. The CD booklet has 2 lines wrong in the song, but the sheet in the LP fixes it. Au Contraire was first released 3 months before The Spine on an EP called Indestructible Object. Like opening songs on albums, They Might Be Giants' EP game has always been absolutely top-notch. Time for more mild cursing. The next song is a contender for my favorite on the album, Damn Good Times. This is another Flansburgh fun rock song, and it's a pretty perfect coming together of elements. It has some of my favorite melodies, most importantly the backing vocal singing "Damn Good Times" behind the main melody. They go so well together, and it really elevates the song to greatness. The grungy guitar throughout the song is also great. The lyrics are all about someone who seems to be hyperactive, some girl who jumps around, as the lyrics say, like David Lee Roth before he turned 21. A reference that people who grew up watching Van Halen videos in the 80s will appreciate. That type of jumping around. The girl in the song might be annoying everyone else with her exuberance, like the people in It's Kickin' In. When she leaves the store, everyone applauds, and I can't tell if it's because her dancing is so cool or if they're just glad to see her go. At the end, the song stops, and the guitar starts playing a slow, crunchy, bluesy solo. Drums join, and they gradually get faster and faster and faster, until Damn Good Times is hurtling along at its fastest pace yet. I never get tired of this song. Genuine 100% fun. By the way, the CD booklet twice says I've Got a Friend, where John Flansburgh actually sings I Know a Girl, also corrected on the vinyl version. John Linnell sings the next one, Broke In 2. As a song, it's a bit slight, saved from actual mediocrity once again by its production. I'm not sure there's a single They Might Be Giants song that I actively dislike or am truly bored by. Something always saves them, even the ones that might let other bands down. Broken 2 is about how the singer doesn't pay enough attention to or doesn't remember what his partner is saying. She says, I'm gonna run you down. He hears it as, I'm an orangutan. I'm gonna run you down. I'm an orangutan. Could happen, I guess. He also muses on the fact that he should have written down what she said when she said it, but it's too late now. They've broken up. Although he does have the blithe self-awareness to admit that even if he could go back in time, he'd do all the same stuff over again, so what would be the point? What I love about the song is the guitar. Not the rhythm guitar's chords necessarily, but the busy, higher single notes that decorate the verses, like twinkling Christmas lights. It's another technique not used by They Might Be Giants much, or by anybody else that I can really think of. But it's a great idea, and it really makes the performance, so I like it. But I also kind of wish I were still listening to Damn Good Times. Oh, and also, at the end of Broke In 2, the song gets more and more distorted as it fades out, with each instrument and each sound kind of crumpling in on itself, like the face at the end of the experimental film. It sounds like something that plagued too many recordings by the band Cracker for a while around this time. Overuse of easy-to-access effects in the popular Pro Tools software. They Might Be Giants do seem to keep it manageable though, and I like how it grinds Broke In 2 into a weird halt. Next is a short minute-and-a-half song about being out of ideas. The song is Stalk of Wheat, a strange phrase for a pop song, but one the band had already used before in the song They Might Be Giants, which they recorded for the Flood album. They might be frying up a stalk of wheat. This time Linnell has gone out walking on a stalk of wheat, pondering how utterly out of ideas he is, and he gives lots of pained, oblique similes to explain the depth of his writer's block. He's like a duck that died, like a moose denied, like a bunny that's broke. Not that those help explain it, but it does sound profound. Musically, Stalk of Wheat is like some kind of outrageous New Orleans-style oompa jazz kind of thing, or something. It doesn't last long, but there's nothing else on the spine like it, so it's nice to have it as part of the varied fabric of this album. The CD booklet has a difference in the lyrics, saying, and it lasted for the rest of my life, instead of the correct, and I'll have it for the rest of my life. The vinyl one corrects it. The final song on the spine is I Can't Hide From My Mind, a Flansburgh song. It ends the album on a gorgeous and wistful note. It's one of his newer style gentle ballads, kind of like Memo to Human Resources. Lyrically, this song takes cliches from movies and TV shows of decades past about the police surrounding a house of a suspect. But where the police would say, we know you're in there, and don't make us come in and get you, Flansburgh sings these all to himself in the first person. I know I'm in there, don't make me come in and get me. Clearly moving the song into the psychologically drowning in one's own thoughts genre of TMBG lyrics. The ultra-sensitive, relatively high-register vocals are accented by single, echoey, trebly guitar chords after each line. Ring. Really pretty touch for the song. And thus the spine ends on an elegiac and thoughtful note, a ghost of a song to reverberate in your own head after the music stops. But it's not actually over yet. The spine has a bonus track on its iTunes version, and that has been carried over to this vinyl reissue. So we have one more John Linnell song to ponder, Renew My Subscription. It spoils the mood set by I Can't Hide From My Mind somewhat, but Renew My Subscription is a cool song. It's a lively Linnell song with two parts, lyrically. Neither positive at all. The first part is about a self-described heartsick shut-in who is writing a letter to some publisher or someone asking to renew his subscription to a couple magazines. He calls them Desperate Bellowing Magazine and Miserable Freak Show Quarterly. Must be some publications. Maybe these are Linnell's sarcastic nicknames for actual periodicals. In the second part of the song, the narrator is asking someone to refill his prescription. He needs the medication that keeps his psychotic tendencies at bay. There doesn't seem to be any lesson or anything to this song. It's just someone acknowledging that they need serious help, but they are going after the help. So I guess that's a good thing. The music is really great on Renew My Subscription, almost tropical and bouncy. If you memorize the mangled lyrics, it can even be fun to sing along to the melody. One little mistake in the lyric sheet on the vinyl reissue if you're in the mood to get extremely nitpicky. Them I know. I hope someone lost their job for that. This track wasn't on the CD, so no lyrics in that booklet. Even with that bonus track, The Spine is only 38 minutes long. Good length for an album, really, and in that short time, They Might Be Giants have managed to give us 17 tracks and a wide, wild range of musical styles and ideas to simmer in. So, this album and its place in history. As I said, I think The Spine is the first album from the current modern They Might Be Giants. The songwriting is a bit more conventional, on average, and the production approach is more playful and experimental. A lot of the sounds and ideas explored on The Spine will show up as echoes on future albums. And a lot of these songs wouldn't really fit on earlier albums. Now let's look at the cover art. In a Bugs Bunny kind of cartoon-style drawing by Zohar Lazar, there's a pleasant-looking house in the woods. Simple, but with a warm stove and firewood, a nice chair to relax in, and a tasty turkey on the table. But it's all a trap. The CD actually spread this art over the side of the jewel case, so it wasn't really a perfect square. To make the vinyl album square, they gave us a little more of the bottom of the drawing. And now, finally, it's big enough to truly be enjoyed while playing the record. The back cover is just the song list and the Halloween-covered silhouette art of the house carved into a big tree trunk. The inside of the gatefold shows more silhouettes, a large electrical tower and a tall tree. On the other side, a guy with his dog carving the house from the tree trunk. And of course, more so than other albums, the spine of this album is important. In fact, it's got that vivid yellow-orange on it, and it's wide enough that I can spot it on my shelf from across the room very easily. Inside is the inner sleeve, red and yellow, with the lyrics and album credits. Also is a sheet from Idlewild Records showing all the TMBG vinyl you can buy, and you should buy. And there was the hype sticker from the shrink wrap, which I kept, and a download card. I don't actually remember if I even used the download card. I have the LP after all, and it sounds great. We record buyers did get short shrift a little bit with this release, though. The CD booklet has more silhouette art for each page on its lyrics. Some amazing stuff which doesn't appear anywhere in the vinyl packaging. My sleeve is sturdy and very well made, like the vinyl disc itself. A truly fine product. And as always, I love that the band is putting out the older stuff on vinyl, especially when it's this high quality. More, please. Oh, and when opening this package, I may have indeed sliced through the cover. A bit. I've marked it. It's unique, and it's mine. Oh, one other quick thing. The Spine was released in July 2004, and on the same day, a 12-minute EP with 7 songs called The Spine Surfs Alone was also released. I won't cover that in depth in this video, but it's one of the band's best EPs, and that is saying something. It's great, and it's usually good to listen to right after hearing this album. So, dig The Spine. Be happy that it's been lovingly reissued. It's a good album and holds up to repeated listenings. I'm glad I've been able to get reacquainted with it. I'd like to tell you which of these songs I now have stuck in my head, but I can't narrow it down to just one. That's the sign of a good album. Thanks for watching. Let me know what I got totally wrong about The Spine.